Okay, here we have my system for lighting fires very quickly without kindling. You are going to be amazed when you do this. So you take 3 logs, full-size logs, and you put one on each side and one on the top. And making sure that you allow for a continuous tunnel running through underneath that. Right there, you'll see what I've got is a little hollow area. See that hollow area? And you make sure that the sides are touching the other 2 logs so that you got kind of like a nice sealed tunnel with the 2 ends open. And then you just take some cardboard, just kind of roll it up and stuff it in there and light it. And then you shut your door on your stove and you keep the door slightly ajar, okay? Just to get the fire, it's really got lots of air, because what's going to happen now is as that cardboard needs air, it's going to suck it from both sides of the opening of that tunnel, from the back and the front. It's going to supply the air that is required, the oxygen that's required to burn. You'll be amazed at how fast this fire will start. And I used to live out in the wilderness without power way back when I was 25 for about 7 years. And I used to go get little bits of this and that to get kindling. I would sit there and chop little sticks of cedar and work the best. If I would have known about this system, man, it would have been such a different world for me. Because, you know, when you're cutting, you're getting a load of wood, you know, you go get it from the forest and you chop it all up into sizes like you see in front of you here in the picture. So, wouldn't it be nice to just use that only? Because, you know, it would save you so much time. Anyway, this is just amazing. I'm trying to talk a little bit to show you, kind of like give you some time to watch this thing go. I'm going to make a short video of this, and if you want to watch the full one, to just watch how real this is. That sucker is so hot in there that it literally just gets the big logs burning. You can hear it start cracking in about, I'd say, 5 minutes in, you'll immediately start hearing that wood cracking. So you know that it's caught it on fire. And then literally that cardboard gets used up and burnt probably in the first minute. But because it's such an inferno in there, it really gets that wood going right away. So then the nice thing is you don't even have to stand around, just let it go and leave that fire. Don't touch it. One big key: don't try to manipulate the logs at all. Once this is going at this stage right here, don't touch anything. Because as soon as you do, you'll have the inclination to try to maneuver it around like you normally would a fire. What happens is you break that seal, and all of a sudden it turns into another, you know, there's no tunnel any longer, and that thing will go out. It'll be the same problem you have when you're normally lighting a fire. It's like iffy if you can get it going or not. And so don't maneuver it around. Now, the other thing is, if the first time you put the cardboard in there and go to light it and it doesn't light, it will peter out. All you need to do is just go in there and just move that top log back and forth a little bit. Just make sure it's seated down on the 2 logs, and put the cardboard back in there, another couple strips, 3 or 4 strips, and relight it. And I've never had to do it more than twice. Generally, I know how to do it so good now, it only takes me 1 time. And then once the fire is really going, I usually just leave the door ajar until it's just kicking ass. When it's really, really roaring, I just leave that door open. And then once I know I have a permanent fire, that thing's not going out, then I might throw another log on top of the whole thing and leave it, but I leave the tunnel. I don't ever touch the tunnel. And then after an hour, you can do whatever you want with the whole fire, because By then you have so much embers going, that thing's red hot. You can do whatever you want at that point with it. Anyway, I'll probably just leave this playing here, and you can watch what happened over a period. I think it was probably about a half hour. I would guess about a half hour this whole thing goes for. Anyway, enjoy. I'm glad to assist you in your future of lighting fires. And you can also use this method outside around a campfire. Same exact thing happens. I've done it outside where, same issue. It's always stacking a bunch of logs, flip flop, making a big, like a stack, and you crisscross the stack. You make it like a foot tall or something. And you put the smaller ones, either on the bottom or the top, and usually get a fire going like that. But it doesn't always work. I've lit in so many outside fires, and I'm always like renegotiating the whole thing, taking it apart, putting more in, looking for more paper, more combustible stuff like cardboard. And this way, you literally don't need hardly any fire starter. Like what I mean by that is you don't need very much cardboard or newspaper. Just need a little bit in the center, light it up, and you'd be amazed. I could light a fire outside, walk away, come back 10 minutes later, and that thing is just roaring, And one other thing you're gonna notice, I might as well tell you because people are gonna try this, and one key factor that you have to keep in mind is the drier your wood, the easier this is going to work. So general rule of thumb, the tree should be down at least a year and stacked. I can cut it, a big tree can be down and I can go and cut it up and use it right away, but it has to be down for about a year. And so if you're buying firewood and you find out that the log, pick up a piece of it, if it's kind of heavy, then more than likely it's saturated with the moisture that was in the tree while it was alive, okay? But once it's dried out for a year or laying down, it doesn't have any more moisture running up through that tree to supply moisture and water to all the branches and everything. That stops once you cut the tree down. So, and then it takes about a year for that to get out of there and just evaporate, and however it dries out. So if you don't have dry wood, you're gonna have a hard time lighting a fire any way you light it. So I know a lot of people will try this like it didn't work, but it's because your wood's wet. And or if you have an odd shaped log that you're trying to marry up with the other two logs, if you don't create a seal along those two sidelines, you're best off with a nice straight piece, okay, as straight as you can, so that it creates that seal on the left and right side to those other lower logs, and leaves you a nice tunnel in the center that almost replicates a solid pipe, call it, Anyway, so look what we got here. She's looking real pretty. I think I put another log on here in a minute because it's going good enough now. And then I will, if you stay long enough, or just fast forward this video and look at the end result of this thing. Yeah, I think I put another log in here, right about here. Because it's going good enough that I could add another log and then just literally walk away and shut the door and even crank the door tight and leave the flue open to service that fire. And literally, it's a done deal at this point. At this point, even right now, you could just leave it alone and then just look back at the fire just like you normally would any fire and add a log now and again. And once it's going really good, you could choke it right down if you do that to heat your house. You know how you choke the fire down? So it just gets minimal air coming in and it makes that log burn a lot slower. and it'll still be nice and hot. Anyway, you know all that stuff. My whole video right here is just to show you how to start it way easier. And anybody that has started a fire in their house and their wood stove, they know this story. This is like no new news to anybody that, you know, people are using those fire starters you get from, you know, the grocery store or, you know, fluid of some kind, or these little bars that you buy and throw them in there. But I'll tell you what, for one thing, they cost money. So you're basically burning money to light your fire. And the other thing is, which is even more important, is the packaging and the contents of those logs that you throw in there. They create an off-gassing which will line the inside of your chimney and your chimney pipe, that will cause it to reduce the flow and eventually, I believe, cause the potential of a fire. And I'll tell you how I know this is by going up on top of my roof, because we were using, like, before I had this system, I would clean my chimney every 4 months because I would notice it would just really fill up. And at one point I was using those little fire logs to get my fire going, because I didn't have time to cut, you know, kindling, and I said, just throw it in there, get it going, and it would light it. But you know, after a while, it would take so long to get going. I'm like, what's going on? So I'd go look inside the chimney. It was caked full of creosote in there. Okay, just caked in there like a cake. And then the channel in the center just smaller and smaller. And so once I got this system, and I no longer used any of those type of fire log starters, what happened was I would look inside my chimney like months later, 6 months, and it was still clear. It was clean. So because I'm burning clean wood, it's dry wood, and I'm not putting those logs in. Anyway, just a few more pointers. If you happen to listen to this whole video, I'm giving you a bit more information about why I like this method. Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you another time on the next video.